Okay, hello guys, this is Mulo, the host of Beats Buzz, hosted by Big Little. But as you can see this time, we're not at Bush Radio. This time we're out in the wild, finding artists to talk to about music business education and music rights for artists. Today we're going to be talking with an amazing artist. His name is Stanley Sibande, and we are going to be having a nice conversation about him and questioning him about just education around rights and navigating the music scene in Cape Town and building that infrastructure and community for artists. So stay tuned for that conversation. We are also going to extend it on Saturday when we attend his panel talk with Concept Records. So stay tuned for that, guys. I'm Mulo, and you'll see me later. Oh, what's up, Stanley? How are you,
man?
That was a dope performance, by the way.
Thank you very much, man. I appreciate it. Thank you guys for coming.
No problem at all. I wanted to ask you, in terms of your performance,
Yes.
do you do mainly covers or originals?
Well, it depends on the type of gig that I've booked. When I'm doing something like this, which is Mojo Market, it's very commercial. I'm here to fulfill the purpose of an entertainer for people who aren't necessarily here to listen to music. Then I try to do more covers because that's kind of the job that I've been hired to do. If I do a gig that's a more sit down and listen type gig, a gig where people are paying tickets to come and see me, I try to incorporate as much of my original stuff as I can, because those are very. I consider that a very special and unique sort of chance for me to actually sort of display what my art is, which I don't get a lot, being somebody who does music for a living. So it really just depends on the type of event.
Understand, thank you. And in terms of your original works, would you say you're registered under the entities that collect the separate royalties and things like that? Or how is your knowledge around that specific sector in terms of music compensation and registration?
So I know a little bit about it. I know when it comes to mechanical royalties, you're probably going to be getting those from Samro. I am registered with Samro. It's a bit of a laborious process, I'm not gonna lie. I'm not registered with Sampra. I don't even know what the registration process would be. As far as royalty collection, it's not something that I focused on for a majority of my catalog that I've released, because for a majority of my catalog it's under a licensing agreement with the record label, Just Music. And then with collection of royalties for the stuff that I have released independently, I mostly just rely on DistroKid, because that's not stuff that's been placed on radio. So I don't imagine there's any or a lot of mechanical royalties that are going to come from that. There's also another aspect of releasing music these days, and maybe this is a bit of cynicism from my end, but for most people who are releasing music, for most artists that are at my level, you're not really getting the level of streams or the level of rotations on radio that warrant you making the massive effort to go through all of the registrations to get your 10 rands in royalties.
No, I understand completely. The reason why I asked is because last week we had an amazing guest, and he was basically telling us that DJs themselves, when they're performing their own music, they make a lot of money, because if you perform your own songs publicly at an entity that is registered under SAMRO in terms of a public establishment having a music license to play other people's music, you can get royalties for that. So what happens with SAMRO, right, since they do the performance royalties, that covers all sectors of performance, from radio to your own live things. So if you were to perform your own live songs, you'd get your own performance royalties from that. And the reason why I bring that up is because I'm all about educating artists on the different royalty streams and how they get their compensation. So I wanted to talk about, in terms of your process with registering with these people.
Yeah.
Has it been tedious? Has it been helpful? Because some people find the information overwhelming to the point where they don't even try. How was that process for you? You said Samro, right?
Yes.
Yes. How was that for you?
So with Samro, I would say it was tedious, mostly because of the fact that it was just slow. It's hard to get any sort of a response from Samro when you're going through the registration process. I am registered now. There's a couple of songs of mine that I have personally registered under Samro. But when it comes to the overwhelming amount of information that exists, I'm lucky enough to be someone who's kind of been looking into the whole landscape of royalties on and off and taking tidbits of information for the last 6 years. So I do know what I would consider is quite a bit of information, more than a lot of musicians, I would imagine. But just with registering with Samro alone, I would say it has been tedious, only because of the fact that it's slow and they just don't respond.
Yeah, I understand.
Yeah.
That. Thank you for saying that, because a lot of people are also struggling with those same things of not really getting the proper responses, because the conflict comes when, to be taken seriously in terms of the business world, let's say you want to have your music on a visual ad or film, you need to be registered with a certain collective management organizations and entities.
Yeah.
But if they don't respond and if they're a bit slow, it kind of makes your job as an artist a bit, it makes it harder. And what we do at Big Little, right, and with the Beats Buzz, is we're educating artists about that. And I heard when I was talking to you earlier that you're with another entity yourself that also helps artists navigate, and you guys do your own panels and things like that. Could you tell us about that quickly?
Sure. So the loose organization, if I could even call it that, is the brainchild of Benji and Ben of Concept Records, and also another lovely gentleman called Asha Gameze. And basically, what we've been doing with this loose organization of people is we've been trying to get together and trying to bring musicians together to sort of talk about the experiences that we have being musicians in Cape Town, whether it be playing at certain venues, working with certain promoters, putting on gigs and producing gigs and everything that goes into that. Because the underpinning of this is that the nature of the way that we do things as musicians, at least in South Africa, is there isn't a lot of chances for us to sit down as a community and discuss the issues that we are facing. And so this thing that I've been doing for the last 6 to 7 months, we've had 2 panels so far, 2 round table talks is what they're called, is to just bring musicians together and sort of like share knowledge. And from that, what I think could evolve from it is an organized sort of like effort amongst the musicians that could help us determine the things that we need that we're not getting, and also give us leverage and sort of bargaining power when we are going to a venue. Because the ultimate thing that we're trying to work towards is what you might call like a minimum set of demands, which you can put in a contract and approach certain venues with and say, can you please provide at the very least this thing? Can you at the very least provide the musician with a meal? Can you at the very least provide the musician with some water when they are on stage? And from what I've heard from the many different musicians that have presented and have spoken about their experiences, the experience of playing music at a given venue in Cape Town is vastly different. And that just makes for a very unreliable environment to work in, especially when you're trying to approach this from like a professional standpoint. Like you're making money from this is your living. You want to have a sort of uniform, or a sort of uniform standard of things that are presented to you whenever you go to a different venue, and that's kind of what we're trying to work towards.
Okay, I understand. And extending on that, how important is the educational aspect? Because the more people initiate these conversations, the more people can navigate the industry in a way where they're informed and not just going in blindly and getting screwed over by people who profit from their ignorance. So how important is that educational aspect for you, and how has it helped you engaging in these conversations as an artist yourself?
I think it's very important. I feel like the music industry from its very foundation is built on exploiting that lack of education that the artist has. because you look back in history with like contracts that bands were signing, or contracts that record executives were trying to get bands to sign. And it's, the famous thing of the contract that Elvis had with his manager was he was just getting money siphoned away from him. And when you create an environment where information is liberalized and it's given to as many artists as possible, it immediately starts to create a sequence of actions that leads to a better environment for musicians to work in. Because then when you come in and you try to do some weird stuff with musicians, they're going to be able to they're going to be able to resist that, and they will have the necessary knowledge that they need to have to be able to push back against you, which is not something that musicians historically have. Like in the way that the music industry is set up, there's just no leverage the musician has. Whether it's you signing a record deal, whether it's you working at a venue, you take what you're given. And if you don't take what you're given, the record exec or the venue can just say, okay, cool, I'll just go and get someone else. Education is an absolutely very, very important thing. And I feel hopeful being part of this sort of Concept Records group that has been putting on these events, meeting you guys here tonight who are putting as much effort as they can towards that education of as many musicians as they can, because then it leads to a better environment for all of us as musicians.
No, I get that. Thank you so much. That was a dope answer. I'm not gonna lie. That was a dope answer.
Thank you, man.
But how are we for time, if I can ask? How are we for time? Good. 1 more minute. 2. Okay, so let me just adjust this. So my last question in these 2 minutes will be what do you hope to gain moving forward from your artistry, just general development as an artist, while also navigating an industry that doesn't really work in your favor?
That's a great question. That's a really good question. What do I hope to gain? I hope to gain more partnerships with people. Stuff like this, where you meet people and you talk and you bounce ideas off of each other and you figure out, oh, we're kind of aligned in what we're trying to do. In the beginning of my musical journey, the biggest thing was me being able to create as much as I could create and to put stuff out. And I've done that, and I still enjoy doing that. But there's something more that I want now, which is doing this, putting the work in to create a community, to serve something that is greater than myself. In the past, that thing that is greater than myself has been the art that I create and put out into the world. And now I feel a duty to try to utilize the knowledge that I've gained over the last few years, being a musician, touring the UK last year, touring Germany this year, putting out an album, doing all of this stuff that I've done to help as many people as I can.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah. Thank you. That was an amazing answer, very informative. And also thank you for taking the time to talk to us in this very busy night. I really appreciate it. So,
thank you so much, man.
This is Mulo with
Stanley.
And we're signing out. Thank you. Bye.